Imagine you're 10 years old, and your teacher tells you that since you're a girl, there's no way you can do well in sports. Well, that exact thing happened to me. In 5th grade, we had a substitute teacher in PE. We were going to play dodgeball, and the class wanted to play boys versus girls. But when we asked, the substitute, who is a woman, said no, because, quote, "You girls are going to get beaten so badly, you'll cry on the sidelines, and I don't want to deal with that." I remember my friends and I feeling pretty hurt by her words, but we were too young to understand how what she said would affect us. That was the first time I noticed sexism in school. But since then, I have seen countless more examples of gender inequality in education, which greatly affects adolescents' view of the world and what they can do. In elementary school, everyone participates. It's common to see most students raising their hands, no matter their sex. But by the time I reached middle school, mostly boys participated. My classmates seemed to absorb gender stereotypes and no longer felt comfortable speaking in class, including myself. My teachers also seemed to get used to mostly boys participating, so even when a girl or someone non-binary finally raised their hand, they were still more likely to call on a boy. Additionally, according to multiple studies, when teachers do call on girls, they're more likely to give less time to answer. Whereas if they asked a boy the same question, they would give him time and encouraging words, such as, "It's okay, keep trying," or "Give it some thought." I very vividly remember being told that pink was my best color when I was only 5 or 6 years old. And while this made me feel happy, I also wondered why I never heard that I was strong or smart. This comment, and others like it, may seem like compliments, but they are actually what is called benevolent sexism. Benevolent sexism is a form of sexist behavior that appears positive and well-meaning towards women and girls, but is in fact reinforcing stereotypes, traditional gender roles, and male supremacy. It masks sexism, and females become more susceptible to inequality. It worms its way into kids' heads and makes them believe stereotypes, which can cause anxiety and even depression. Additionally, sex-based stereotypes are not only limited to females. Sexism towards girls often overlaps with sexism towards boys. I've noticed that a lot of the time, if someone assumes that all females are weak, they unintentionally believe that all males are strong, athletic, and smart, which then forces the males to act like they are. Often, teachers discriminate against boys just for being boys, similar to the average sexism towards females. Most of the time, teachers assume boys are the ones causing trouble in class. It's also possible that if a teacher is a big feminist, they might only pay attention to girls to make a point of not being sexist, not knowing they're doing it anyhow. I bet a lot of you are familiar with the term man up, which is essentially telling boys to not be emotional or weak. And while it is less common to hear this term now, its implications still take effect on boys today. Men who feel like they have to be stronger than women often creates tension between the two sexes. Consequently, because of that, males are usually more friends with males, and females are friends with females. In 1972, President Richard Nixon passed a law called Title IX to prohibit gender discrimination in education and other federally funded activities. Now, this may seem like a good idea, and it was. However, there are many flaws in the enforcement system. It requires an extensive and prolonged process where you have to file a complaint, provide evidence, and, if your complaint gets approved, undergo an investigation. Additionally, in 2020, changes were made to the law by the Trump administration. Many people criticized Obama's definition of sexual harassment and said that it minimized students' free speech. Now, students are only protected by the law when the words or actions are so, quote, severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive that it effectively denies a person equal access to their education. Previously, the word and had been replaced by the word or, making it much easier to be protected by the law. However, once the changes were made, that one word significantly limited the circumstances under which somebody could be defended by Title IX. So no, This is not a problem that has gone unnoticed, but there is still a long way to go. Improving gender bias in education will be vital in reducing overall sexism. So think about it. Imagine if emotion wasn't weakness. If all genders could speak up and be friends, without tension. Imagine if educators were aware of how their words could be subtly hurtful. So how do we get there? We need to be able to notice when people are being sexist, whether intentional or not. Teachers organize training specifically focused on eradicating subtly sexist behavior. Parents, inform your kids on sexism and teach them to notice it. You don't have to do this in a formal way. You can slowly teach your kids about inequality while having casual conversation. Students, inform your teachers on how their words can be hurtful and sexist. And if you feel hurt by something someone says, talk to them about it. It may be hard, but by making one small suggestion, you are taking care of yourself, your peers, and your community. Slowly, one by one, these ideas, comments, and suggestions will improve our society for a better future where everyone can be comfortable. Thank you.